Ready.
Let's do it.
All right, we're recording.
All right, I'd like to open up the Warrenton Board of Alderman meeting for Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. And if everyone would please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, tonight we will be removing from the agenda items 9E and 9EI. IT. Got that. All right, introduction of new employees. And I'm going to turn this over to the department head so they can introduce their new employees.
Sure. The police department would like to introduce our newest patrol officer, be Officer Colin Barton.
How's everyone doing?
Good. Good.
Thank you.
We would also like to introduce the new AP Finance Clerk, Claudia.
I don't want to mess up your last name.
Hold on.
Thank you. She started with us on June 24th.
Welcome, Claudia.
I'd like to introduce Jenna Jones as our new communications specialist.
Cool. Hello. All right. Consent agenda.
We have the regular meeting minutes from June 21st, 2022 and July 5th, 2022.
I'll entertain a motion for the regular minutes for June 21st, 2022 and the minutes from July 5th of 2022.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Alderman Schultz. Second by Alderman Quarter. Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Trump,
Yes.
Alderman Porter,
Yes.
Alderman Cullum is absent, Alderman Jackson.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Public comments. This is an opportunity for anyone from the public to come up to the podium. Please state your name for the records and we'll give you 5 minutes to speak on whatever you'd like to speak about.
I'm Clifton Wolf, and I live at 434 Highway U, and that's the last house in the southwest part of town. After purchasing ground in the southwest part of Warrenton, we asked for and received an R3 zoning. Since we were granted the zoning, a 19-unit senior citizen complex had been completed by the St. Clair of Assisi Catholic Church. That's for citizens over 62 years of age with limited income. It filled up immediately and today has a wait time of 1 to 3 years, so it's definitely needed. There is also a 14-room adult daycare facility there. There's 12 duplexes, 3 quadplexes, and 32 single-family homes. 6 months ago, that the R3 zoning allowed for multifamily and single-family homes. Now the current R3 zoning allows for only multifamily homes. No single-family homes can be woven into the development. Now the current zoning change for tonight, if I understand it correctly, is to be only single-family homes, no multifamily, in a multifamily R3, only single family. If this is indeed approved, it will be the third change for multifamily housing in about 6 months. You changed R3 a few months ago from multifamily and single family to multifamily only. Tonight, it appears, if I understand what's going to happen here, tonight it appears that you are going to vote to change the change. We are requesting that the R3 zoning on our property be grandfathered in, as we have already contacted an engineering firm and have started the process of completing plans for a multifamily development. This plan was to be proposed when the Park Hills subdivision was finalized. At the current time, Park Hills has been approved by the city, but has not been finalized. We need the finalized plat so our engineer can complete our subdivision for submission to the city for approval. Reestablishing the mixture of single-family homes and multifamily units would be benefit to us and to the city. When Park Hill subdivision was presented, it needed a second exit as Coleman Road was not going to be satisfactory for an exit. We saw this as an opportunity to open up Oak Acre subdivision so that the 50 or so kids in our neighborhood could safely and legally get to the city parks that adjoin on two sides of our subdivision. Right now, the kids either have to trespass or travel down Highway U 9/10 of a mile and so it would solve a problem for us. So that's the reason we were interested. It would also give the city an opportunity to open the southwest portion of Warrenton, as has been in the city's comprehensive plans for years. We then offered the city a road easement across our subdivision to complete the traffic flow. You have just approved some 220 square foot apartments. I would like to thank you very much for this decision, as they are badly needed. Homelessness is a problem in our community and in most other communities. The cost of owning your own home is going out of reach for many. Not everyone needs or can afford the 1,200 square foot homes that are presently the minimum for single family homes here in Warrenton. Again, thank you for the compassionate decision to allow for the small apartments. They have more square feet than a car or a tent. In conclusion, I would like for the board to consider leaving R3 as it is for the moment and come back to it at a later date. The city set up the requirements that presently exist, and in my opinion, are obligated to honor them. Was there a public information meeting on when you decided to change to the multifamily on it? Has there been any discussion on this multifamily change? And if there has been, why wasn't the people that have multifamily ground invited? The PUD that is before you tonight is a different ballgame. I have two friends around my age, and that's a lot, who have sold their homes and moved to what I assume is a PUD. They both like their decision, enjoy it there, and not everyone still needs a large living area and the cost of maintenance to keep it maintained. There's definitely a place for this kind of development, but it needs to have a separate zoning as in consideration here tonight. Again, I am asking that the R3 zoning be researched further, more fully, before any more permanent changes be made. In addition, I am asking that the minutes of this meeting include that I have made this request. Respectfully submitted, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. If not, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Just to give a little bit of feedback, and I talked to Mr. Wolf and Mr. Scott. We had a brief conversation before we started. And I know Clifton and I agree to disagree, and we've always agreed to disagree for a very long time, which is part of the fun of talking to Clifton. What we're doing, right now, you have to apply and get a conditional use permit. That's a process through planning and zoning and through the Board of Aldermen to do multifamily. What the PUD does, and basically what I'm saying is they can still do multifamily, but they have to rezone the property. This allows you, which is the direction we've gotten from this board, to look at multifamily projects on a project-by-project basis. So someone can come in, 3.5 acre lot, can say, I want to do a duplex development, or I want to do a multifamily development, and you all can make a legislative decision to say yes or no. Mr. Wolf's absolutely right. We tinkered with R3. I think we discovered quickly that there was collateral consequences to tinkering with R3 by taking the single family out. We're putting the single family back in because that was a mistake. I reviewed on some of these lots, the Oak Acres, the single family plats that they had drawn previously. And so Mr. Wolf is correct in saying, you know, I had single family, you guys took away the single family, and, you know, now you still, my point is, he can still do multifamily there. He can still do duplexes there. It's just a different vehicle through which you can do that. When you do a code change like districts, you can't grandfather his property in. You know, you can't say, well, you get a special set of circumstances that's different. It's not the way our zoning codes, you know, is set up. We had a discussion, I had a discussion with Alderman Corder where there are some issues with duplex developments that we're going to look at to make sure what we refer to as orphan lots, that, you know, we did an inventory of our orphan lots years ago when we created that special exception for duplexes. So my point is, we're not taking away the ability to do apartments. We're changing the vehicle through which you can do apartments. Yes, it's a different process, and I'm not making any representation that it's not a different process. This is a rezoning process. But based on the direction from this board, you all want to look at every single multifamily project that comes in. And I will remind you, the last 2 months in planning and zoning, some of are up tonight, we've had 500 apartments come in to be looked at, which is a 10% increase in our housing. So these are controls that will give you the ability to look at it on a project-by-project basis. We talked about the feedback from Mr. Scott and from Mr. Wolf, and we're going to take that and continue. Look, zoning codes are organic documents. We made a change. The change didn't work to the R3. We're going through a different vehicle to still allow multifamily. Look, anybody can do multifamily if you zone up to a planned district. That's the difference here. So, you know, we're actually expanding in a certain sense where you could have a commercial piece of property that you say, wow, this is such a great multifamily project, we want to go here. Or this is a multifamily, single family, kind of like Creekside is, where they transition up from multifamily to townhomes to single family residential, where you can take something that doesn't necessarily fit neatly in our zoning code.
Yeah, just step up, come on up to the podium, yes.
Gary Scott. The only problem I have with that is you're limiting that to the 3 to 3.5 acres. We've got individual lots in that same subdivision that we cannot make a PUD out of them because they're too small. And you're going to have a lot of lots stuck around when all this shakes out that aren't large enough for a PUD. So you are limiting people because it's 3 acres.
Well, but what I will say is there's a provision in our code for, I apologize, there's a provision in our code for platted properties that were identified as duplexes, platted, less than 3 acres, where we have a mechanism, and we talked about that. We have basically, you know, if you were platted prior to this date, then you can still do a duplex. And it's too hard to get into the mechanics of how it works, but essentially is the orphan lots that will allow some duplexes. And one of the things I talked to Alderman Corder about, that I didn't get a chance to talk to you about, Gary, was I got direction from Alderman Corder and guidance from Alderman Corder to really do an inventory of what we have, where these are, where people may want to do something less than 3 acres. Part of the reason 3-acre minimum requirement was put in was so you couldn't take a single-family residential, have an orphan lot, and put a duplex in there. So there's kind of two sides to it, but we are going to look at those lots that are outstanding, and, you know, if you have those, Gary, email them to Tim, where those lots are outstanding, to see where they are, or if they're on this legal non-conforming, you can still do a
I'm
duplex.
more concerned with, as you're putting these projects in, you're gonna have little pieces of land left in the middle that may not conform to the 3 acres, that could be completely surrounded by apartments, duplexes, and they can only have a house on them.
And I think that's some,
That's not the case, is it, Gary? Because
It isn't right now, but
well,
you're,
I mean, if we change, can they not come back with a PUD?
not less than 3 acres,
Okay,
but we can look at a mechanism for those leftover properties, just like we did with, you know, Warrior Ridge. If you look at Warrior Ridge, you know, you had all those duplexes built, then you had all those leftover lots, and now they've built it out, and in fact, some of them they took out of the duplexes and built single-family residentials. So we did that after the fact to see, hey, we have this many orphan lots and whatnot that were there, and that was to our discussion, Alderman Corder, was, you know, we did it, and I think it worked pretty well over at Warrior Ridge to make sure that we weren't opening Pandora's box, that everybody could build duplexes, but they could build duplexes when they were prior approved as duplexes, to keep, you know, to make sure that there is consistency in development. And we will look at that and study that to figure out, do we need to put another mechanism in there for orphan lots, or, I hate to use the word orphan lot, but I've said it like 50 times tonight already, another mechanism for approving those lots. And I guess my point is, this doesn't create the orphan lots. I mean, I get that the R3 eliminates the ability to do a conditional use permit for an apartment on a 10,000 square foot lot. But I believe that's the direction of this board. You don't want an apartment complex on a 10,000 square foot lot to look at it that. You want to look at it as the holistic development. Is this consistent with the surrounding areas? And so it's a little bit of a different vehicle. It's a different perspective. But, I mean, Alderman Corder said to us before tonight, or when we were meeting before, we have to look at that and know what it is. And what I told Alderman Corder at the time is, the best way we did this the first time was we did an inventory of the lots that potentially have this issue where they're in a duplex development. It doesn't make sense to put a single-family lot. Melody, you remember when we did that inventory, went through all the subdivision plats, verified where they had ones that were undeveloped, and created that ordinance out of it. And I think that's the best way to catch the leftover stuff, to create a vehicle so that development can be consistent. It's not my belief that creation, you know, really tightening up our PUD district, which already exists in our code, and what it's for and the purpose of it, and to, you know, really put all apartment developments into a PUD so you can look at the entirety of the project instead of an individual lot basis. It's not precluding development of those leftover lots. I think we just have to, you know, at the same time, have a mechanism for those lots as well.
How often does a lot get left open?
You know, it would surprise you more than you probably realize. The reason we have leftover lots is because we had people coming in, subdividing land like they were building single-family residential, and then building duplexes instead of a single-family residential house. So we have a lot of really nice neighborhoods that are duplex neighborhoods that are on 8,000 square feet lot. Because somebody sold it, the market crashed, developers weren't building duplexes, they couldn't sell them. It was an odd lot, it was maybe closer to this or whatnot. You know, there's a variety of reasons. I think the main reason is because it was subdivided and the lots got sold off, and some people built duplexes, some people waited to build duplexes. What the PUD does, it's one developer, and we'll see this with Creekside tonight, it's one developer, and that developer's responsible for all the maintenance, all the development for that entire area parcel, so we don't get into this subdivided situation. I think the PUD will help eliminate orphan lots. if that makes sense.
Yeah, my only thing is, I don't think, I think you should keep some mechanism in there for duplexes other than the PUD, because it's going to come up. And to make special exceptions or jump through hoops to make this work seems to be making a complicated issue out of something that should be fairly simple.
Well, didn't we kind of discuss, Gary, some of the, maybe even looking at a totally different set for duplexes or something like that, and once we get this through, so we can kind of pick and choose or make sure we get the right developments in the right place. That's what we're here, and I think you agree with that.
I agree with that. I don't have any problem with the PUD.
But I still want to make sure that those that want their duplexes in the right place are there. And I want that ability, and I'm assured that we're going to be able to come up with something to make that work.
That's all I want.
I figured that.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
So what do other cities do about these, same kind of situation like this?
I mean, I gotta be honest with you, there aren't a lot of cities that we don't have that many orphan lots left, truly orphan lots. Because I think most of them have been developed. I mean, if there was an orphan lot in the city, most people have developed them like true orphan lots, because, and this is why we created this mechanism, is we were looking at multifamily with single-family residential lots, right? We were looking at duplexes with single-family residential lots, and that creates a lot of issues. The reason we put the special exception, and I don't know if anybody on the board was involved, Gary, you may have been involved at that time, was we had a developer here who was getting an 8,000 square foot lot, building duplexes on it, and selling half the lot and half the home, which he couldn't do. He couldn't re-subdivide the lot. That was a concern, and then we basically brought all those into conformity with our code. So there are people that own 4,000 square foot lots in the city of Warrenton. Not because we approved them, but because we had a developer prior to the housing crash that did that. Because people would come in and say, I want to build duplexes, and we're putting them on duplexes and triplexes on 8,000, 10,000 square foot lots. That's why I think we had so many orphan lots, and that's why I told Larry, before we get into this, if I learned anything from the first time we went through it, you really have to do an inventory and try to identify those lots. Because what I told Larry and what I told, Gary was, they may already fall under that exception. I mean, there may be some that are out there. Let's say there's 2, let's say there's 8, let's say there's 10 we can identify. They probably already covered under that exception, and they may not know it, or nobody's ever come into the city to say, but we need to know what we're talking about instead of, I mean, there's a big difference in what we recommend code-wise and what you approve if you're talking about 3 lots or you're talking about 10, or 1,000 lots, right? Like, it may change your decision, and I think we struggled to figure out how to deal with this problem of, these illegal lot splits for those, and the way we found out is literally a developer built half a duplex and never built the other side, never put walls up, and they came and complained, the one that bought, hey, I bought this, and he's not finishing the other side, half my building isn't built, and we're like, well, what do you mean you bought half of a lot? And that's where we found that out. But we struggled with, over a lot of meetings, how to handle this, a lot of executive sessions, and where we really got ground was figuring out and identifying how many of these actually exist, right? How many of these actually exist that are necessary to create kind of the special mechanism that they're talking about so they can be consistent with the surrounding area. And that's my point, is we didn't develop these condos, or not condos, these duplexes or apartments under a PUD where it's one lot and you're looking at the entire project. We developed them as single-family residential lots with duplexes on it. That's why I think we had so many orphan lots at the time. I don't know what the inventory is. I don't know where we're at. We haven't looked at that since, we probably did that the first time. But I mean, that's where we would have to start, is to say, okay, of our prior list, how many still exist, how many are outstanding, and how many additional ones can we identify that are problematic. And then we go back and we look at the unique circumstances of that, so we narrowly tailor a code provision that allows for those orphan lots to be developed consistent with the surrounding areas, but does not create an unintended consequence of, you know, now people can develop anything they want on their lots or whatnot. Because we had just as many complaints about people building duplexes in single-family residential neighborhoods, which I think everybody would agree, you don't want that. But to make sure we didn't open up, you know, some of these residential subdivisions, I don't know how many open lots are left, but they didn't want a duplex right next to their single-family residential neighborhood, so we can keep it consistent. So that's the direction we got from Alderman Corder, and that's the direction I got from Brandy, and that's what we'll look at, we'll work on. And look, if what we did doesn't work, we're going to come back to you, you know, and figure out a better way to do it. I mean, there's not a single city that has an identical zoning code to another city, because they truly are organic documents that, like, look, the R3 change didn't work. It didn't work. It was problematic. So we're fixing it, right? Yes, we've made changes, but part of it is like, look, if it doesn't work for the property owners, it doesn't work for the city, we got to come back. It doesn't make sense to not have single family in R3. So we're putting it back in, and then we're taking really where I think, you know.
But isn't that creating what we don't want, though?
What?
So we don't want multifamily right next to single family, right? That's what we changed the code a few months back, correct?
Well, I wasn't at that meeting, so I don't.
I'm pretty sure that's what we didn't. What we agreed?
The reason was why.
I think one of the reasons we decided to put multi-units in a separate category is because a developer has a parcel of land and then had it plotted for single-family homes, and then all of a sudden they decided to sell that to someone else because it was zoned this and multifamily was in that. Well, hey, I'm going to put in multifamily homes on all this now, and that's why we wanted to separate the two.
You could have done that.
So isn't that what we did, though?
Yeah.
So now we're wanting to go back on that?
No, we're not going to go back. We're doing the opposite of it. That didn't work because it created an R3 district that was incredibly restrictive for the landowners. We're bringing single family back into that R3, and we're taking multifamily. If you want to do multifamily, you got to go through this plan unit development, which allows you to look at, you basically are back, I call it backing into a project. You're looking at the pictures of the projects and the plans of the project, which is the exact opposite of what was happening before. You rezone to an R3, and you had no control over whether or not they came back and asked for a conditional use permit for apartments or duplexes. Now, they have to do exactly what's in the ordinance. If they do a minor change, it can be administratively approved, but if they want to do a major change to it, they have to come back and go in front and get their legislative approval amended. So
I'm still kind of lost here, because it sounds like we're still gonna let them build multifamily next to single-family homes. It's like we're going right back to that, though.
No, that's not.
I think.
It sounds like that's what we're gonna let them do.
No,
if we do this.
No. We're putting back into R3 single family, which is not in there now, because you want single family in R3, correct?
Yes. And we're pulling multi out to what?
To a totally separate zoning district. You have to zone up. So if you want to do multifamily, you got to bring your project in and you got to go through soup to nuts. You know.
Whereas the other.
Right. I was just making sure we weren't going back.
No, I
we
mean,
weren't going backwards.
I think this is a fix. I think to their point, there are still some things we need to look at, and we will look at that and we'll bring that back to you all.
Right. Okay. Clear.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
I got somebody else. I was confused.
Yeah.
Anyone else for public comments? Hello there.
Hello, gentlemen. First off, my name is Sandy Sachs. I am the regent of the local Daughters of American Revolution here, the Thomas Kennedy chapter here in Warrenton. And I first kind of want to apologize because I was thrown into this about 2 hours ago, so I come really unprepared. But basically what we want to present is on your item 14, number F, about the Ssm Healthcare, looking for the site on the tract of land on Veterans Memorial Parkway, which is next to Schnucks. And we have, about 3 years ago, the National DAR, we set a plaque for the marking tree, and I don't know if you guys know what a marking tree is, but it's the tree that Indians used, and it, you know, marked their paths years ago. But anyway, we marked that, and it is on the National DAR Historic Preservation Site now. So we would like you guys to consider that tree, preserving it, and we're not opposed to the SSM's development, but just take into consideration when you give them access that they will make sure that they keep far enough away not to damage that tree, because that tree is, I think they told us, 400 to 500 years old, and we really don't want to do anything to damage it. Okay? Thank you very much.
That's that standing tree that's sitting there now.
Yeah, you can see from the highway.
Didn't we do something to kind of protect that?
Just went around it.
Wanted to. Yeah.
Schnucks went around it not to touch it.
Anyway, and can I move my F up to A or B?
No.
Thank you.
All right.
Hang on this.
Hello.
Cochran. We're here for SSM. I believe that tree is on the adjacent property to the Schnucks and not on the SSM lot, but we will confirm with the city on that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right. Moving right along. Board of Alderman comments. Nope. Nobody?
Happy to be here.
All right. Mayor comments. Well, since I get to be the mayor tonight, so going to reappoint Brian Vogt, Corey Mattis, and Laura Snyder to the Park Board for a 3-year term. And I will entertain a motion.
I don't have any problem with that.
So moved.
I'll second that motion to appoint them.
All right. Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Quarter,
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
That's 5 yes and 1 absent. And City Administrator Brandy Walters. Am I right?
Good evening.
So the first thing that I have for you tonight is meeting on election nights. So at the last meeting, it was brought up that some folks wanted to change whenever we had a meeting on an election night. So I wanted to bring that to your attention if you guys wanted to change that, because election night is the next meeting, August 2nd.
I don't think we need to change it.
I don't think...
The amount of people that vote in town, there's not like there's long standing lines, so...
I agree with Alderman.
Okay.
There's 13 hours to vote. The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Our meeting starts at 6 p.m. They have 12 hours prior to the meeting, so I agree. I don't see moving a meeting for that 1 hour.
All right, we will leave them the same. The next thing that I have for you tonight is a change in code for vacation. When we recently changed hours, so folks, some of our employees are working 10-hour shifts on vacation. On our vacation code, it says that you have to take vacation in 4-hour increments. Well, if they're working a 10-hour shift, it's not really a half a day. So I was asking that we could change this code tonight to 1-hour increments. So that way it helps if they work an 8-hour shift, if they work a 12-hour shift, or if they work a 10-hour shift, they could take their vacation in 1-hour increments.
What kind of headaches is that going to cause for the admin side of it?
It really doesn't, because we already use personal time all the way down to 15 minutes, same way with sick time. So it's really not going to be any different, except that it's 1-hour increments. I mean, we could go down to as little as 15 minutes if we wanted to, but I was thinking an hour, because if you're taking vacation time, you probably ought to take at least an hour.
I have no problem with it if it's like that. I mean, as long as the administration feels they're comfortable with it, so.
We have a bill next for that.
All right. So I will entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 40-22.
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Jaspering. And second by Alderman Quarter.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 125 of the Municipal Code related to employee use of vacation time.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 4022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 125 of the Municipal Code related to employee use of vacation time.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Quarter.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent.
The next thing that I have for you tonight is a change to the sick leave code. At our planning meeting this year, we had talked about sick leave, and we currently accumulate up to 720 hours. You guys asked that we reduce that to 480. And also change the payout. So currently, the payout was a lot longer. Now we have it where it's 50% at 5 years and 10% at 10 years, it's 100%. So this was changing from your planning meeting. This will also change new hires they will effective August 1st will only accumulate up to 480 hours rather than that 720. So there's also a bill for this as well.
All right. Any questions about this?
Nope. I went through that.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 4122.
So moved.
Alderman Schultz.
Second.
Alderman Schultz, motion. Alderman Jaspering, second.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 125 of the Municipal Code related to the accumulation of sick leave.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 4122.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Miller.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 125 of the Municipal Code related to the accumulation of sick leave.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Quarter.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
The next thing that I have for you is the software contract. So this is with BSNA. As we have discussed previously many times, our software is outdated. So we would like to upgrade that software. This will also allow us to get an electronic payroll software as well that will tie into this. But right now, this is just the software update itself. So we will become more with up-to-date, the current century, I should say. And like I said, this is with BSNA. We did an RFP for this process. We received 6 responses, and John, Dana, and myself sat through 4 different demonstrations, and this is the company that we chose. It's approximately about a 1-year implementation on that. And if you guys are good with it, we have another bill for you.
Any questions?
No.
This is also in the capital. It's in the capital budget.
Okay.
By the
So
way.
did you say that the payroll will not come with it at the beginning, or it does?
No, it does not. So we're actually in the process of doing RFPs right now for the payroll side of it. It's not included in this, in this software.
So we'll have to integrate with another, do they have, does this company have other companies that or other organizations, other cities that are using their software that integrate with another?
Yes, they have several.
And you guys felt pretty comfortable with
Yes.
that? Okay. All right.
Very good. All right, I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 48-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, second by Alderman Miller.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for software services with Bellafuel, Sure, and Associates Incorporated.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of Bill Number 48-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for software services with Bella Fuel, Sure, and Associates Incorporated.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0, one absent.
I have a reminder for you tonight that Meet the Candidate Nights is July 26th and July 28th. So we have several of them that have, pretty much all of them have already responded and said, I think I only had one that has not, that said they will be here those nights. So again, that's July 26th and the 28th. National Night Out is August 2nd from 4 to 8 at the Warrenton Athletic Complex. It is the night of the board meeting. It's going to fall that way probably all the time. This is our last year of hosting that, so it'll be passed on to another department for next year. The next thing that I have for you is we have had some complaints on signs recently. As you know, it's election time, so our code currently calls out for them not to be larger than 24 square feet, which is a 4x6. A lot of them have a common size of a 4x8, which is 32 square feet. If you guys do not have an issue with those larger signs, the problem is sometimes these are coming in and they may not be a local person. It could be somebody that's running for Senate, or it may not be somebody that's local that's putting up those signs. So our building department is either having to take them down completely because they don't match the ordinance, or they're having to contact them and track them down to come and get their signs. So what we're asking is if we could change that ordinance and bring that back to you at the next meeting so that we allow them up to a 4x8.
The complaints we're getting on them being too large. I mean,
Yeah, because they don't meet the code.
all right, that was my
It's
question.
code only,
It's
it's not
code.
a safety issue where they're putting them, things like that, just a
Is that
code?
correct, Mike?
Yes, it is correct. It's just a size concern.
Okay.
But understand, and we didn't talk about this, but you can't, if you change the code, you're going to make that for every sign. Right, Mike?
These are for temporary signs.
Temporary signs
Temporary
only.
signs. So any temporary signs, you're going to increase in size.
So real
We
estate
can't just say
signs,
this
everything.
under,
So my yard sale sign can be 4x8, is what you're telling me?
It could, yes.
All right.
You ought to get some people coming in then.
That will grab your attention.
I just wanted to make that point of
All right.
clarification.
No, that's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys all right?
Sure.
It's
2 feet.
They're doing it already, and like you said, it's more work on our guys
Yeah.
and
And they're
gals
not
to go out to
checking with
remove
us.
them. So,
Seems to be a standard size, 4x8.
correct.
So if you're good with that, we'll bring you a code change at the next board meeting.
That's fine, thank you.
And then also just one more reminder is we'll have a work session at 5 o'clock prior to the next August meeting. So that August 2nd meeting, unfortunately Scott will not be here, but we will have a
5 o'clock meeting.
work
that day.
session that night at 5 o'clock.
Gotcha. Where was the Meet the Candidates? Where's that going to be held at?
In this room.
Right here in this room? Okay. Very good.
What time did you say it starts?
Those are at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
How long is it gonna run?
The work session is at 5 o'clock, Alderman Miller.
And the, meet the candidate's gonna run from 6 till,
I don't have a definite ending time because I don't know how long that, I don't know how many people will be here and asking questions and how long they'll talk. I don't know that.
we all know how politicians are, so.
We do.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
thanks.
That's all that I have for you.
All right, thank you, Brandy. All right, next up, Director of Operations, John Struckoff.
Good evening. First thing I have for you tonight is the monthly admin report. One highlight on there is we did a bunch of interviews in June. A lot of those came from the pool, school-age kids for lifeguards. They're actually pretty well staffed right now. We still need a bunch of staff everywhere else but the pool. So,
When you say a bunch, what is a bunch?
Just off the top of my head, I know we need like 6 or 7 in Public Works. I'm sure PD's a couple short. We're 4 short in PD. We need a couple admin people, or not admin, I'm sorry, finance. We're hiring for a finance clerk. So we're,
You're just not getting applications? Nobody's applying?
no.
All right.
So if you know anybody that's looking for a good job, we'd be happy to entertain that. Any questions on the admin report?
No, thank you.
Next thing I have for you tonight is the approval of rate study from Gonzalez. This is the water and sewer rate study that we have been talking about for the past few months. This is a proposal from Gonzalez. They do all of our sewer work now, so they have a lot of the information already ready to go. So just looking for approval for that unless you have any questions.
So this is just their rate study for us going forward, where we need to be at as far as our new rates go and as we move forward?
Yeah, they'll analyze what we're charging now, what our costs are now, and then for, I think, a future of 5 years.
Okay.
5-year study is what they're doing.
Yep.
Correct.
I understand.
I think it was 29,000, is that correct? Okay.
Any other questions? No? All right. I'll entertain a motion for the approve the rate study for Gonzalez in the amount of $29,000.
So moved.
Motion made by
Second.
Quarter, second by Alderman Jaspering. Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent.
Last item I have for you tonight is we're going to be switching from Dropbox, how you guys get your monthly, or the board meeting stuff now is all through Dropbox. We're going to switch that to OneDrive. We've been kind of going towards that since we did our email upgrade earlier this year. It's one of those things that we just need to get everything switched to one place. So the information is going to be sent out on a OneDrive link. So everything will be in that link. You just open it up. I just want to make sure that everybody is receiving emails and everything like they should be. If we need to send it to a different email or something, we need to know that, so we can send this link out every time we need to.
I'm getting them.
Everybody's
All the
getting
junk
them?
mail too.
I just
All
want
the
to make sure.
junk ones, yeah.
I'm getting emails from citizens, yes.
So I'm just making sure all that's working, and I'm hoping to do that before the next board meeting, so we can kind of start migrating towards that. So
Sounds great.
the information's still going to be there. It's just going to be in a different format. So if you have any questions or anything on that, please don't hesitate to call me, whatever, email me, whatever. I can help you with that. So
Off subject, how's things going out on Highway North 47 with their sidewalk? Are we moving along with that?
So the sidewalk's all done. The contractor is all but moved out. They have all their stuff removed from the site. I believe the only things that are remaining are stuff that's going to be done by a subcontractor. So I think they got to end of this week to get all that done. So I haven't heard of anything bad. They've had great weather.
I had a question from somebody. We're going to maintain as far as cutting the grass on that. Is that true? It seemed like that's what I thought. Okay, just wanted to verify that.
We just haven't started because we haven't taken over. We haven't done a final inspection. I mean, it's still all in their hands. So if we'd go by and hit the sidewalk with our boom mower, guess what? We're fixing it, not them.
Right.
So,
okay, thank you.
So what we're asking is for the public to please be patient
Yes.
until everything is finalized, and then we will be taking care of the weeds and grass.
Yep, we're getting very close.
Well, at this rate, they're all going to die off with the heat.
That's right. You don't have to worry about it. So, all right. All right, thanks, John.
I did want to, at the last board meeting, I totally forgot about this, and I thank you for bringing this up. You requested to change that date on the change order to the end of October. That was approved, so that's been signed, and so the acceptance date was moved an additional month like requested at the last board meeting.
And that was for them to take care of the grass because...
To make sure the grass is washed out.
Right.
October 31st is the new date that we can do a final acceptance on any vegetation growth.
Perfect. Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, John. Appreciate it. All right, next up, Building Commissioner Mike Cross.
Good evening, board. We have a monthly report. A few highlights. We have Tremor on site now in Pinckney getting ready to cut roads in, so.
All the infrastructure work is complete, with the exception of running the underground electric, but that's not going to stop them from going ahead and putting roads in. And it's going to be a pretty large project. It's 33,000 yards of concrete getting ready to be poured out there.
Holy cow.
Do you know
Who's the
when they're-
contractor on that?
when are they?
Karen Brock.
Karen Brock.
Karen Brock?
Karen Brock.
Karen Brock, yes.
Do they know when they're going to start pouring that? I had that question as well.
That was supposed to start last week.
Okay.
But they didn't get all the road crossovers for all the fiber optics and the electric crossovers for the roads done. So it's done now. They're still cleaning up some height problems I have, but hopefully Monday.
So I had another citizen ask me, is Charter going to be in there along with the other, or
That I have
Gateway?
no idea. I don't know.
I didn't know if we had any input on that or how that worked.
I have no input on that at all. I don't know anything about that.
And we have not heard from
Have not.
Charter or Spectrum, whatever it is today,
No.
about that. Okay. All right, thank you.
A few other things, you've seen the building go up for scooters. They're moving along with that project. The final phase of the 2 new apartments that were built on Arlington are just about ready for final now. So he's about a week or 2 out from that, but those will be open. And they're already got a waiting list, so, for those 10 units.
Wow.
Mike, I have a question. Is there any update on the project that's proposed at Warrior Edge and 47?
Yes, well, today I just finally got the final okay on the plan reviews for the C station there, yes.
Okay.
So they'll be paying for their permit here in the next week or 2, and hopefully within a month they'll get started.
Like to see some dirt turning out there.
So will we all.
I've had a number of people ask about that.
Yeah, should be within a month.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Anything
That's
else?
all I have, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks,
you.
Mike.
You're welcome.
All right. Chief of Police Larry Hellard.
Good evening. The only agenda item I have for you tonight is my monthly report. If you don't have any questions on that, I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you to several people. This month, we conducted and participated in multi-jurisdictional active killer training. So without the assistance of the Warren County School District, the Warren County Sheriff's Department, the Wright City Police Department, Truesdale, and of course, officers from our department, we wouldn't be able to get this done. The training went off without a hitch. Got nothing but positive feedback from it, and all those departments that I just mentioned provided role players, instructors, and safety officers to help us complete that safely. So that goes along with Alderman Miller's question in the last board meeting when he asked if we were conducting training for large-scale events, and as he asked that question, we actually were. So
Something we need to plan for, hope it never happens. But
exactly. And that's all I have.
Questions for the Chief?
Thank you.
No. Thank you, Chief. All right. Public Works Director Guy Cheevers.
Good evening. I have one item for you. I'm asking for approval for a 2023 Titan combination truck. It's a flusher truck that is in the capital budget. I'm recommending to accept the VATCon combination truck through Sourcewell for the amount of $454,255. Cost of the truck was $504,255. Trade-in of our old Vector truck was $50,000. So they come out to be $454,255. Our budget amount was $436,000. So I'm over budget, and I want to reallocate $18,255,000 from the I&I budget, and that's remaining in the I&I budget of $181,745,000.
And what does this truck do again?
It's the flusher truck, vac truck. So we use it for flushing sewer lines, and we use it for excavating, looking for gas lines. The one we have now is what did I do with that? 2006, and last year we just dumped $11,000 in repairs in it. So
We dumped 11,000 into it and we're about to trade it in.
yeah,
Smart.
so I'm asking for approval for that.
So we could be dumping another 11,000 this year, so.
Jeez.
Got a duct tape to
I didn't
Why'd
mean
you come
to, I
with
didn't
us
mean
with
to say
that last
dump.
year?
We spent $11,000.
That probably didn't have the 500,000 last year either.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Guy?
Nope.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to award the combination truck bid to Sourcewell in the amount of $454,255.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent. Anything else, Guy?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Director of Planning and Development, Tim Burks.
Here we go.
Here we go, Tim.
Good afternoon, board members. You have a copy of my monthly report. One of the highlights on there is the Refined Silver Properties Portraits LLC opened a business at 101 North East Street in June. And that's all I have on that, if you have any questions.
When's JMax opening, do you know? Just out of
I
curiosity.
think it opened on the 18th of this month, so.
Yesterday, okay.
What did?
The downtown pub.
Oh.
I didn't know it opened.
It opened back up?
I didn't know it opened. Somebody asked
You
me
didn't know
today
that?
about it
No.
while I was at the Hibachi
Is it still named
Grill.
the same thing?
No.
Yeah, they changed the name on it.
What's the name?
JMax downtown.
It's JMax.
Pub and Grill.
Good to know.
Go down to J-Max.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
All right.
All
All
right.
right, go ahead, Tim.
All right, so the first project is going to be the Creekside Apartment Rezone CC 71. Ed Schmeltz had submitted an application to rezone an area of land to R2. The image on the next page shows the area north of the existing Creekside Apartment PUD and proposed expansion of the PUD, proposed to be rezoned to R2. This area is currently zoned M1 and Ag as shown on the map. Okay. The Creekside Apartments have been approved within this area. The proposal would allow the single-family development north of the apartments to occur. The area east and south of the subject site on fronting State Highway AA are zoned R3, high-density residential. Additionally, the parcel to the east is not located in the city limits. Much of the subject site has recently been annexed into the city of Warrenton and retains the ag zoning designation. The planning and zoning results. This project was presented to the P&Z. The motion passed 7-1 with one absent and one vacancy. Staff comments. Staff has reviewed the request to rezone the subject site to R2. All items and notices as required by state and local law have been provided and completed. While the proposal is not consistent with future land use map, staff is in the opinion that the proposed change in zoning is consistent with the plan and policy of the future direction map. As circumstances surrounding the property have changed, staff believes the proposal is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan. The engineer for that project is here. We actually have 4 projects for the Creekside. I think he has a presentation tonight to explain all of them. Do you have any questions for me?
I'll just wait till the presentation.
Okay.
My name is Chris Wolf with Wonderlick Survey and Engineering. I have a PowerPoint that touches on all the agenda items that we have for Creekside. If so moved, I'll go ahead and get that ready.
Yeah. Let's go right ahead.
I mean, it would be okay if it would go right to this.
Yeah, and maybe we'll.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Is this going to come up here or no?
On all of them.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, thank you.
We're tech now.
Except on your iPad. It won't come up on your iPad.
Won't come up on your iPad, though.
This is good enough.
Drive D. The D right there.
Or that one. That one?
Yeah.
That's the one I'll pick.
This one? This one.
All right, like I said, my name is Chris Wolf with Wonder Lake Surveying and Engineering. The developer is Ed Schmelz for this property. Ed was not able to make it this evening, but I would like to go through this PowerPoint to address any questions that you may have. Basically, we're calling this Creekside Apartments is the PUD part of this. The Woodland Heights is the future single-family development, which is what we're asking for, the rezoning to R2 tonight. We're not asking for a preliminary plat of this. We're just asking for the rezone at this time. It will be a future layout with a preliminary plat. All right, so Woodland Heights is north of the Creekside Apartments. This is the piece that we're rezoning to R2. It is 51.1 acres. It is currently M1 and Ag that we're trying to rezone to R2. The next piece is going to be the Creekside Apartments PUD, which is in addition to an existing PUD that we did previously in 2020. We're basically trying to rezone those pieces from M1, R2, and Ag. So it's 43 acres in totality, and we're doing a boundary line adjustment because in the PUD code, it has to be one lot. So we're basically taking multiple pieces and putting them all together into one tract to turn it into a PUD. So, as you know, you probably know where the property is right now. It goes from the outer road all the way to the north to AA. This is the total encompassing piece. This is not the PUD. This is the PUD and the future single family, which is under rezone right now. This is a map of the parcels. Back to the location map. The current Creekside Apartments PUD, you can see highlighted by the pink line, that was approved in 2020. We're asking for the, up to the next pink line would be the addition to the PUD, and then that piece to the north that goes all the way up to AA would be future Woodland Heights. This is just a rezone exhibit. You can see that our future plan is to put this into single-family lots, but we're not asking for the single-family lots part of it tonight. We are asking for the rezone. The parcel number 1 up in the corner, that is currently zoned M1, and we're asking for that to be rezoned to R2. And then the Ag part of this was not in the city limits, so in a previous meeting, we brought this in. So when it gets brought into the city, it gets brought in as Ag, so now we're asking for it to be rezoned to R2. So that's future. We will bring, potentially at the next meeting, we'll bring a preliminary plat for that northern piece. The rezone for the R3, this is the piece that's going to be the extended PUD. Right now we have R3 as underlying zoning district of our current PUD, and what we have out there currently is we have one piece that's Ag that we're asking for change to R3, and that's the piece that was brought in to the city limits. There's a piece that was previously R2 in the city limits. We're asking for that to go to R3, and then M1 to R3. That M1 piece is a piece to the east. It's the northern 2 acres off an existing building there. There's an existing building there that has a truck facility in it now. Moving on to the PUD part of this. Our PUD plan consists of this development where we were back here in 2020, we asked for a initial PUD on 18 acres. So we had an 18-acre PUD, and we asked for 124 units that consisted of apartment buildings and townhomes. That was approved in 2020, and what we're trying to do tonight is we're trying to add on to that PUD. We initially met with the city staff, and we were talking about how to do this development, and initially we were going to try to split this up into pieces and do it as individual lots for the duplexes. It was all going to be one developer, but it would be multiple lots. And after talking to city staff, the recommendation was to do it as a PUD and one large lot. So that's why we are approaching this as a PUD process. So it's still one developer. He controls everything. Any issues, anything that goes on with the development is under one ownership. So the previous PUD that was approved is under construction right now. You can go out there and see the buildings. Some of them are inhabited right now. But the PUD process is the PUD has to be on one piece of ground. So that's why we're making a modification to what was there before. So it goes from 18 acres, the old development, to the new development is 43 acres. Basically, we're asking for an additional 24 acres to be added to the original 18. And on that 24 acres, we're asking for 148 units. So 148 units on 24 acres, all right? So I'll go into the density calculations of that in a minute. So what we had before was apartment buildings and townhomes. What we're asking for now, since we're going to try to transition into a single-family development, is we're asking for one apartment building that transitions, that's the orange building to the north of the existing Creekside, and then we head into townhomes and duplexes. So this development, the 24 acres by itself is actually less dense than what was approved last time on the 18 acres as part of that development. So basically we're asking for a development when you combine them together is actually more dense because the piece to the north, because it's not apartment buildings, it's duplexes and townhomes, were less dense in totality. So we're trying to keep as much natural vegetation as we can. There is an area along the creek there. We're going to keep those trees. This slide here is basically an aerial image behind our PUD showing where we're going to do additional plantings of the trees that we remove, but also try to keep the buffers around the outside of the property. At P&Z, we were initially tabled at P&Z, and the comments that we had were trying to showcase the density, the amenities, and things of that nature, which we tried to break down, give more detail on the process to move through P&Z, and then we came back to the next month's meeting, and we were approved by P&Z unanimously. This is an area of the PUD where we actually have a soccer park, playground, and a dog park around the existing office that's out there right now. So if you guys drove by the Creekside site, you will see that the office is already built. This was what was approved previously. The office is already built, the playground's already built, the soccer area is graded, and the dog park is graded, but the fence isn't up yet. This next piece is in the middle of the site. This is where it's transitioning from the old PUD to the new PUD. The amenities that we have shown here, we're basically looking at putting in a second dog park there, another playground with a parking area, pavilion, and then also a couple of pickleball courts. So this is the amenities in the middle part of the site. And then this slide talks about the amenities on the far east side. We have a proposed gazebo and soccer area over there to the very east edge of our property. So basically, this came up in P&Z, active space versus just green space. So in the code, the green space is anything that's not a building or a parking lot, but it's not necessarily active space. So we broke it down. There's different municipalities around that require a certain amount of active space versus just green space. Active space would be, pickleball courts, dog parks, sidewalks, walking trails, things of those nature versus just tree plantings. So our total site's 43 acres. Our total green space is 30 acres. So it's almost 70% of our site's actually considered green space, not building, not parking, not pavement. Out of the natural vegetation, we got 15 acres. Of the 30 acres, we got 15 and a half of natural vegetation, and then active space is 14 acres. So on this slide, the light green areas, so it's yard area, it's dog parks, it's pavilion areas, it's the office area, soccer fields, that's all considered open space, active open space, where you can actually use the property more so than just a tree buffer. So basically, to kind of touch on the green space, our initial 18-acre PUD has 72% green space. Our new phase is 69% with an average of 70% green space. So it's pretty much what we had previously done. This is a density slide. So R2 single-family code is now 10,000 square foot lots, which is 4.36 units per acre. R3 multifamily code is actually 16 units per acre. That's the densest you can possibly do in R3 code. With your new code changes, I don't know how that's going to affect that exactly, but a previous development up there by the fairgrounds was Fairground Villas. It was a 5-acre development, and they had 7.83, so almost 8 units per acre on that development. Creekside Apartments previously, when we brought this before, on our 18-acre piece, we had a 6.83 units per acre. So we were almost 7 units per acre on that development. If we look at this addition PUD on a standalone basis, if we did it on a separate lot, it's basically a 25-acre tract, 24.84. And with the number of units we're talking about, we're just under 6 units per acre, 5.96. So we're less dense than what we were previously with the other part of Creekside development. But if you put them all together on the 43-acre piece, it's 6.5 units per acre. So decrease in density from what we have. I just got a few pictures on the slideshow. This is the 16-unit building, the apartment building. If you go out there right now, this picture is from a building that Ed built in Washington, Missouri. If you go out to Creekside right now, there are a couple A units built. So those are already constructed. We're talking about adding one more of these apartment buildings, and the rest are going to be a building like this. This is a B building that's already out there at Creekside right now. If you drive out there, you can see it.
All brick?
Yes, brick front. All brick front. This is the building that's out there, a C unit building. We'll be building these townhomes as part of our development. This is a current building that's out in Creekside right now. So if you drive out there, you'll see this building. That was part of the initial phase. This is a building this is another townhome development. This is built in Union, Missouri. This is another building that Ed has done. So we have this development building that we've done in the past. This is a building that will get built out here on the Creekside new PUD. This is a different duplex. This picture is actually part of a fourplex, but this is one of the duplexes that's going to be built on the duplex side of things. This is built in Union, Missouri. So it will be, this footprint will be built as part of the duplexes shown on the plans. This is the office at Creekside right now. It's constructed. If you go out there, you'll see that it's not finished on the inside, but this is a picture from the inside. Just a kind of a dog park fence picture here from Orange Blossom, which is Ed's other development there in town. This is the playground that's under construction right now. Since I took this picture, he has put the pea gravel in there, but this physically exists out there at Creekside right now. Pickleball court, gazebo. This is a gazebo that he built in Union. This is a gazebo up there at Orange Blossom. This is a pavilion up at Orange Blossom. So this is what we're planning on doing. If you guys have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them. One thing that came up at P&Z that I just want to touch base on is that Spady Road, we have an entrance that we're showing going out to that road on our plans. And it was recommended by P&Z that we put a gate up to not access that road to the east. we would still provide a Knox box lock, so the fire department and emergency services could get to that. But I guess my thoughts in talking with the developer on that is that if we could we'll do it the way they wanted it, but if we take the gate down, I think that would be preferred. I know that the stipulation was that they would take the gate down once that road is paved to that entrance. And it's just, I don't think that the county is going to go out and pave that road if nothing changes on it. I mean, the logic is that if we put up a gate, then there's not going to be any additional access from our development to that road. So I would think in the county's mind, there's no reason to pave that road in the future. If we potentially add traffic to the road, then more users, potentially, they would get on paving the road quicker. That was kind of our thought process, but if you want to leave the gate up, we can leave the gate up. So.
I just want to make a comment. I think the gate was part of, in response to, I believe there was someone from Spady that was concerned about traffic on the road.
There was some comments.
Yeah, about increasing traffic when it's gravel. So I think that was the intention of it was, well, until it's ready for more traffic, let's not dump more traffic on it. But that's just what happened at Plain and Zoning. It was kind of a last minute thing. Have you talked to the
Well, don't we
county?
have an ordinance where you had to have like 2 ways out of a place? Not
It's
just
a
one?
Fire
Right?
district.
It's a
You gotta have 2, right?
Fire department requires it.
They just have to have access.
So they got access.
Yeah, so
So
like
if they have
Orange
the
Blossom, you guys put a gate up, right?
Yes, that was the plan, to put the gate up to Fairgrounds Development.
Yeah, did you guys end up putting a gate up?
It hasn't been constructed
It
yet,
hasn't been
because
constructed.
he just
Oh,
bought
I
that
got
piece
you.
to the
Okay.
south to
I got you.
add to it. But as far as the entrances, this is still considered an access, even though it's gated, because we'll build the road all the way to Spady. We'll just put a gate. The fire department can get in and out of the gate. They would be the only ones actually with the lock. So we still provide that access. But we do have 2 access points on the outer road right now. So Creekside, the original Creekside development has 2 separate access points on the outer road. And then this would be a 3rd access point on Spady Lane with this other development.
Wouldn't that mitigate some of the traffic on AA there a little bit? I mean, some people that live closer to that gate, if that was not there, it seems like they would take that out.
All day long.
Versus going through the subdivision, is my thought.
For sure. I would access Spady Lane if I lived right there.
Yeah, the people that live on the east side development, I would think, are going to use Spady Lane if that gate's not there. So I think that's P&Z wanted to prevent that, but we're basically asking to take the gate out and allow that access.
I think it makes more sense to have that access to me than block it off, but that's my opinion.
So I'll just finish this up real quick. Just in conclusion, we're rezoning the Woodland Heights piece from to R2, and then we're asking for the approval of the addition to Creekside Apartments PUD, the rezone part, the multifamily part, and then also the finalizing of putting that all together in one lot. If you guys have any additional questions.
Why soccer fields? It just sounds like it's just going to be a big open field to me.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is...
I mean, are you going to put goals up? I mean, are you just going to be like, it's an open field, we're going to call it a soccer field?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. In talking with the developer before, there is a plan to put up permanent goals on the soccer field. So there will be the metal goals with the netting put up. As far as the green space and place for the kids to run around, by putting the pavilion next to it and barbecue grills along with the pavilions, we're trying to encourage the areas for birthday parties and things of that nature. So.
Why is it always got to be soccer, Jeff? It just sounds like it's just going to be a field to me, is what it is. It just sounds like a good thing to call it, a soccer field.
It's a ball field. I have a question for you. A little clarification. The developer of Orange Blossom, is that the same developer that's doing Creekside?
That's correct, yes.
Good. Orange Blossom.
What about the traffic we're gonna create with this on the service road?
Great question.
That's gonna be a ton. That light sucks, so.
Well, do you want to talk a little bit about, I know that's the second part, but can you
Yeah.
talk about that,
So-
and the commitment that Ed has made to build that road?
Yeah, I'll try to go back to the slide where we show future connections, which was basically just on that rezone slide from the beginning. So it'd take me a second to get back to it. But basically right now, the current PUD for Creekside that was approved has 2 access points on the outer road. As you can kind of see on this slide, we have 2 access points to the outer road, and then we had an access point to Spady Lane. And then what we're doing in addition for this future single-family development is we're planning on having another connection that will connect to our through street all the way to Spady that's going to run to the north. And that is actually going to, there we go, that's going to run all the way out to AA. So this property, once developed, is going to have 2 accesses on the outer road, an access off AA, and an access off Spady Lane. So, I mean, as far as the number of units, the development that we're putting in with 4 access points, I mean, we have quite a few different ways to disperse the traffic, trying to keep it separated as much as we can as far as giving each part of the development a way out of the development. Now, one thing that was talked about in P&Z was brought up that this road all the way up to AA will be built by the developer within 18 months of construction of the PUD to the south. So it will happen at the same time. So we won't build the PUD and then build the road. His intent is actually to go ahead and start develop single-family lots at the same time he's developing the PUD. So this section of road will be, once he starts construction on this PUD, next phase of this PUD, as we combine them together, he'll build that road out within 18 months to help eliminate traffic.
I don't know if that exit there to AA is the best spot to put that. You want to put that entrance and exit right there on that turn?
Well, since he controls that whole thing through there, actually, if we would provide a site distance easement up around there. So what you're going to see is you'll be able to park there and actually see up all the way around that turn. So as that car travels around the turn, there's actually more distance that the car travels than your site distance is there. So, I mean, we will ultimately have to get final approval from MoDOT where that location goes. But we're planning on putting in a site distance easement so you can see up all the way around the turn. So nobody could build or plant trees or anything like that within that site distance easement.
Well, you're going to have 1, 2, 3. I drive down that road every day because I live in the neighborhood right across from it. So you're going to put houses right there on that bend. How are you going to see around the corner if there's houses there?
Well, there would be a site distance easement. So basically, this is shown on a very small scale. I mean, the distance that we're going to have to be provided for site distance for MoDOT, as we've looked at this based on the elevation of the road and where that street is located, still needs final approval from MoDOT. But based on our preliminary findings at this point, we will provide a site distance easement in the backyard where they couldn't build, they couldn't plant trees, they couldn't do stuff like that until they got within that easement. And that easement won't take up their whole entire backyard. Those lots there are proposed to be a larger lot development. So basically, as we transition to the south, you can see just on this little exhibit how much larger those lots are to the north. As we transition to the south, the lots would get smaller. So those lots up there do have more room to give up in the backyards just because they're larger lots.
What does this do for our traffic light there? I mean, we're going to be producing a lot of cars going up and down the road there, the service road there. I mean, how far back are we going to be having traffic backed up there in that short little timed light right there at 47?
That's MoDOT.
That's MoDOT.
That's MoDOT.
Well, we know MoDOT doesn't want to do anything around here, so are we just going to create
we can't
a traffic jam there?
But we can't stop building.
What I would say to you, Alderman Jeffring, it probably was unfair for me to bring up because this project is not in front of you. It was the access issue, and I think that'll be one of our focuses on this project. I mean, another focus we're going to have is traffic mitigation and the design of this street so that this doesn't create a cut through to get to the outer, the outer road, cutting down through AA to, mitigate that and make sure it stays safe. But we'll look at that with the developer. And to be candid with you, I mean, every request, every feedback that we've given to Ed Schmeltz as the developer, he's been very responsive and very, very receptive to doing it. So this has not even been submitted as a plat, preliminary or final plat. It's just the rezoning that's on tonight. And that'll be something we'll dig into detail with the developer on to address site distance around that turn, making sure one of the priorities of this board has been not creating cut-through streets, that there's some traffic mitigation to make sure it's safe. And we'll look at that entrance and make sure it's safe, just like we did on Coleman Road for what's the name of that?
Park Hills.
Park Hills, yeah. We'll probably have law enforcement look at it and give us some feedback beyond what MoDOT can require them to put a separate light in or can require them to do some.
I'm not talking about a light, it's just like the timing of it and the line's going to be super long.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's a lot to think there before just like, all right, let's just build a bunch of stuff and then.
But in fairness to the developer, I was asking him to show for the access point that you'll have Spady, hopefully that's get paved at some point, 2 access points down there. This will go all the way through, and if I'm not mistaken, there'll be sidewalks on one side of this entire street, all the way from AA to the outer road.
Apartments?
Service.
Or all the way to the service road?
Service road.
All the way to the service road.
No, this isn't even a preliminary to sketch.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job laying it down on a natural grade. I didn't know how you guys were going to get many lots out of that because it's kind of along the ridge lines there.
Yeah, and the open areas are trying to avoid the main tree carrying areas there, so trying to work with the grade that's out there. But like I said, this is just kind of a sketch that we put together for the rezone part of it, and that's what we're asking for on that piece, the rezone.
That's what I'm worried about. So is there data on like how many multifamily units per population is needed?
Great question. We had a question at our last planning and zoning meeting where Scott Costello, Commissioner Costello asked to get an idea of what is and they got some of the inventory numbers going 5 years back, and then this idea of, and I'm sure it's probably something staff's working on, is what is the ideal numbers? What's the right mix of single-family residential? Surprisingly, in the last 5 years, there's not as many apartments as you think, less single-family homes, but not, as significant amount of apartments as you.
Well, there hasn't been money on building in like the last 10 years.
That's exactly right. Yeah, but
I just didn't know if we were too high, like do we have too many, do we have not enough?
We didn't have an answer for that, and I think that's one of the things that Tim's bringing back to planning and zoning is what's the right ratio, what's the right mix, so we can bake it into some of our planning documents.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be good to know. That way we're just not overloading the town with apartments.
City of apartments.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Any other questions?
No. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Good job.
Is there any public comments on this? If not, all right, I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 42-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made Alderman Schultz, second by Alderman Miller.
An ordinance authorizing the rezoning of approximately 52 acres located at 284 Highway AA and south of Highway AA from AG Agricultural Reserve and M1 Light Industrial to R2 Medium Density Single Family Residential and amending the zoning district map thereon.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 42-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance authorizing the rezoning of approximately 52 acres located at 284 Highway AA and south of Highway AA from Agriculture Reserve and M1 Light Industrial to R2 Medium Density Single Family Residential and amending the zoning district map thereon.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Quarter,
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent.
Can I ask him a question again real quick? Do you have like a completion timeline here of when this is all supposed to be completed?
Hold on, I want to record this for Ed. I'll just text
Yeah, so basically in dealing with the developer and timeframes, things that had come up before is we have a development schedule that was put in the packet. Development site clearing is late 2022, early 23. Grading is the second quarter of 23. Infrastructure is going to be the third quarter of 23. The streets would be the first quarter of 24. And the multifamily units would be in the second quarter of 2024.
So you're looking at 2024?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it looks like for actual move-in.
With no hiccups.
There's always hiccups, but we plan those in.
All right, thank you. All right, Tim.
The next project is the Creekside rezone CC 72. Ed Schmeltz has submitted an application to rezone an area of land to R3. The next page shows the existing Creekside apartment PUD labeled as number 7, as well as the two areas, 1.2 acres.
Proposed to be rezoned from M1 to R3, and 5 and 6B, as well as a 14.5 acre area, 4B to be rezoned from Ag to R3. The planning and zoning results, the Creekside apartment rezone CZ 72 was presented with no public comments. The rezone request was approved 10-0 with 0 absence and 0 vacancies. Staff comments, staff has reviewed the request to rezone the subject site to R3. All items and notices as required by state and local law has been provided and completed. Staff is in the opinion that the proposed change in zoning is consistent with the plan, policy, and the future direction map. As circumstances surrounding this property have changed, staff believes the proposal is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan. That's all I have on that one. Any questions?
Any questions for Tim? No. Any public comments? Not seeing anyone? All right. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 43-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance authorizing the rezoning of approximately 26 acres located north of Creekside Apartments Phase 1 from AG Agricultural Reserve and M1 Light Industrial to R3 High Density Residential and amending the zoning district map thereon.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 43-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Quarter.
An ordinance authorizing the rezoning of approximately 26 acres located north of Creekside Apartments Phase 1 from Ag Agricultural Reserve and M1 Light Industrial to R3 High Density Residential and amending the zoning district map thereon.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Quarter.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes. Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. All right, go ahead, Tim.
Project is the Creekside Apartment Boundary Line Adjustment, SUBD 103. Ed Schmeltz has submitted an application for a boundary line adjustment plat for a 43.89 acre of land on the north of the service road, east of Highway 47. The area is proposed to be consolidated to allow the expansion of a PUD that currently authorize the Creekside apartment project. The border boundary line adjustment has been submitted in conjunction with several other requests to propose a project consistent with city code requirements. The Creekside apartment boundary line adjustment SUBD 103 was presented to P&Z with no public comment. The rezone request, or the boundary line request, was approved 10-0 with 0 absent and 0 vacancy. Staff has reviewed the proposed boundary line adjustment plat and found that the proposal is consistent with Chapter 410 of the subdivision regulations of Warrenton Municipal Code. That's all I have on that one.
Any questions? No? Any public comments? Not seeing any. All right, I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 44-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, accepting the boundary adjustment for Creekside Apartments Plat 2 located on the North Service Road east of Highway 47.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 44-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Jasper, second by Alderman Miller.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, accepting the boundary adjustment for Creekside Apartments Plat 2 located on the North Service Road east of Highway 47.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with 1 absent. Go ahead, Tim.
This is Creekside Apartment Phase 2, PUD 85. Edgemont has submitted an application to
Expand the existing PUD
across the 43.89 acres of land. Proposed PUD would include 272 total units across 48 acres.
The proposed density is well below the maximum residential density allowed, and the PUD is being requested to allow for a varying of houses types and within one development. So there's 124 units that were approved on the original PUD, and the proposed would be 148.
Questions? Nope. Public comments? No one? All right. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 45-22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Jaspering, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance approving the conditional use permit for Creekside Apartments Phase 2, a proposed plan unit development for apartments located on the North Service Road east of Highway 47.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 45-22.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Quarter.
An ordinance approving the conditional use permit for Creekside Apartments Phase 2, a proposed plan unit development for apartments located on the North Service Road east of Highway 47.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with 1 absent. All right, go ahead.
So the next project is the Ssm Healthcare Facility. It's site plan 156. Elliott Reed, on behalf of Ssm Healthcare, has submitted an application for a site plan approval for a 3.6 acre area of land west of Highway 47, east of the Schnook store, and on the north side of Veterans Memorial Parkway. The site plan shows construction of an Ssm Healthcare building, associated improvements on the site. The subject site is Zone C3 Highway Commercial District and is surrounded by properties of the same zoning classification. Okay. This project was presented to P&Z The motion passed 10-0 with no absence, no vacancy. Staff comments, staff has reviewed the proposed site and would note the following conditions be put in place to ensure light fixtures located on the north and east side of the property does not cause glare or create a nuisance to parcels to the east or to the traffic on North Highway 70. And there is a representative here from engineering to answer questions on this project. Do you have any questions for me?
Where's this located again?
This would be east of Schnucks if you pulled into the parking lot to the east and the north towards Highway 70 on the other side of that deep.
By that tree?
No, not
Where that open spot is behind.
behind the detention.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the plat up there, the small building on the right-hand side is the car wash. Nope, keep going to the right.
Hold on. Give me a minute.
There you go. That's the car wash.
Oh, that's the car wash.
So it's directly behind the car wash.
Okay.
And it'd be
Here's
east
the
of the
detention pond.
Schnucks store.
Now, I do have a question here. I thought with the I-70 corridor, we were only allowing retail through that. Am I mistaken?
I have no idea.
I thought, Chris, at one time we decided, like the I-70 corridor, that was going to be for retail. Or am I mistaken?
SSM?
Yeah, so with,
I don't think.
does this fall into that?
Where SSM is located, because I don't think that was the Schnucks
It's on
side
the-
as well.
Yeah, Schnucks is over here.
The entrance, where she just pointed at the bottom left-hand corner, is at the turn which would connect to the corner of the Schnucks parking lot.
That's the other entrance, right? It comes off of 47?
I'm gonna look that up.
In between Taco Bell.
Yes.
Yes.
What is this? I mean, what is this facility going to do? Is it just, I mean, what are we doing here?
We have a representative from SSM that can better define what all services are being provided than I can.
Let the other professional come in.
Hello, I'm Ryan Seltzer with SSM. It's an outpatient center, so it'll have like 18 exam rooms. There'll be 6 providers there. There's a physical therapy gym, a lab draw, and then it's basically just a primary care space, and also an x-ray.
So what about the 2 locations that are currently in Warrenton?
Kelly and I were just talking about that. I think that the one right at 47 and 70, I think that may become pediatric only. But I'm the PM for this project, so operationally I'm not 100% sure on that. And then as far as the other one, I do not know.
A lot of SSM.
I was just wanting to make sure we weren't,
Yeah, I can find out.
you know,
but I
in a
don't.
vacant building all of a sudden.
Planning and zoning, the gentleman that was here did state, because right now physical therapy is in 2 separate buildings, that would be condensed into one, so it would be basically utilizing like all the, since there's multiple SSMs in town, it would be consolidating them.
Yeah, I just.
So those other 2 could become vacant?
Well,
This could be the primary one then?
Or like the physical therapy side of it. Because right now they're down there off of Veterans Memorial. I think they've got a place, and then they've also got another.
Yeah, the gym.
They're in with the Smith's office or whatever.
PT physical therapy will come out of that one on the highway. I just heard through the grapevine that may become pediatrics, but I don't have that answer for you.
Okay.
They're not giving it up, they're just changing it.
Just moving the physical
pieces
therapy
around.
part of it out of there.
Yeah, which makes sense.
So it's going to be more of a physical therapy type of
Yeah,
deal.
well, I
than-
mean, I think the physical therapy part's only 3,000 square feet of the 15,000 square foot building. So, you know, it's kind of a small piece of it, but it'll be a nice sized gym in there. I think lab is maybe, well, you know, I don't know, Dan's a couple thousand square.
So there's no primary care doctors going in there at all?
I'm sorry?
No primary care doctors are going in there?
Oh, yeah, there'll be 6 providers.
Okay.
Yep, there will be.
Kind of compared it to the one in Winsville, off of where, is that Meyer Road? Where Pittman Funeral Home is? That's what he compared it to at the P and Z meeting.
That's correct, yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Good, all right, thank you.
Thank you. See if your question's answered.
Right.
It is within, it appears to be within the highway overlay district. However, it doesn't appear that we told them that it was software, so we'll have to relook at that, but I would not want to delay this project because this is the first time that issue's been brought up.
Oops.
So, what do we do from here? Well, in fairness
can
to the
okay it.
developer, I can almost promise you that they have no idea that this is in a overlay district that requires 50% of their floor ratio to be retail. I'm sure they had no idea about that. Yeah. So I think we're going to have to take a look at this overlay district and maybe bring back some revisions to it.
For the next project.
Yeah.
But this project, we're going to move
I
forward.
don't think it would be fair.
I don't think it would be either, if it's our mistake.
Restriction at this point, but you are correct. Alderman.
You guys feel comfortable with that? I mean,
Sure. I didn't even know what he was even talking about until he was there, so it was news to me.
what do you think?
I understand it's our fault. We dropped the ball, but we're also the ones that put this in place, and that's what bothers me, because we did not
catch it.
We didn't catch it. So, all right, I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 4622.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance approving a site plan for Ssm Healthcare on a tract of land located at 499 East Veterans Memorial Parkway.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 4622.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance approving a site plan for Ssm Healthcare on a tract of land located at 499 East Veterans Memorial Parkway.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
No.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Bill passes 4-1 with one absent. All right, go ahead, Tim.
The last part is the approval for a request to amend Section 405, multifamily, AMD 122. So the changes would be the Appendix A of Chapter 405, removing multifamily as a CUP within R3 high-density residential district. Plan Unit District, PUD, will be added to Section 405.060 as a zoning district. Section 405.285 Plan Unit District will be deleted. Section 405.125 Plan Unit Development will be added. Section 405.100 removing multifamily specification, changing the height limitations, making lot areas and yard requirements the same as R2 medium density single family. Additional language has been added to the R3 high-density residential district to address developments of areas existing prior to these changes to minimize nonconformities. Planning and zoning result, the motion passed 9-0 with one abstention due to an absence from the meeting.
Any questions? Any public comments? All right, then I will entertain a reading for the first reading of, I will entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 4722.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 405 of the Municipal Code.
I'll entertain a second reading for bill number 4722.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 405 of the Municipal Code.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, second by Alderman Quarter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.